We'll watch a video like this then. Cool. I'll keep the chat on screen in case people want to see anything. I'm gonna pause the music and let's do this. It's a 30-minute video, and I'm probably gonna be talking during it. I'll pause it when I talk. So we're probably gonna spend like an hour on this. So I don't know how long I'm gonna take to talk, but let's see how it goes, boys. Let me know volume levels, all that kind of stuff. It should be a good volume, but tell me if it's too quiet. This part's quiet because the music's quiet. Wait till he talks. The music is different. Wait till Spud talks.
He wouldn't publicly play it like this. Like, come on, like I cannot.
It's not even. He might not be lying. It's fully possible. They just
Volume check. Volume check, people.
Does
Let me check my levels.
Count?
This should be okay. I'm looking at my levels. We should be okay. And or I'm too deaf. Okay, make it loud. Sure, I'll make it louder. I can do that real quick. I got you, boys. Volume's fine. I know that when he did the speaker thing, it got a little bit loud there, but we'll put it up just a little bit. Not okay. That's a lot. It's just a little bit louder, but not too much more, because it is a little bit quiet. Okay, resuming.
Victoria 3 are now an enemy of the state. This is a federal
This is a Spud gun video. We talked about Victoria 3. Or you'll see. Just watch the video.
You will be arrested. Cease and desist immediately. We currently have the IP addresses of all users in this channel.
Pretty good. This is the leak, right? I remember when the game got leaked. That was pretty hype.
And watch your fucking Martin's AAR immediately.
There was this one post in the
Alright, I'll cook and teeth for you.
Hello everyone, welcome to a video about everyone's favourite game, Victoria 3. The way this video came about is a bit strange. As you might know, Victoria 3 is going through a lot of fixes and patches lately. They just came out with patch 1.2, which changes the game quite a bit and addresses many of the big complaints about the game. So I started off intending to make a video about that, but in order to build up to the context of patch 1.2, I started talking about the launch, I looked at the player count, and I kept finding loads of interesting things that not a lot of people know about, and before I'd even gotten to patch 1.2...
This is true, by the way, the player count going down. I've even checked this for myself. Player count does look like this, except it's not even that jagged. It's more like a sort of decline like this and then a flattening. You can barely hear it. Jesus Christ, you people. Okay, hold on. I'll try to put it even louder. Still a bit low? Okay, sure, hold on. I got you, boys. I'm sorry for this. I'm sorry that this is jank. Hold on, I'm just gonna do this and tell me if this breaks your ears.
2, my video was 20 minutes
this fine?
already, with plenty more things
now
to
it's
talk about.
quite loud as far as I'm
topics in
concerned.
this video are far more interesting than just game mechanics, and they're much deeper and more important.
This good?
But I will still
Fine?
mention patch 1.2, and I might cover it more extensively
Great.
another time. I've already done a stream from the patch 1.2 beta, if you want to see that on the Spud Gun Archives channel.
Is you in the video? Hold on. Are you in this video? I see you there. I see you there. Look at you. Out of sinkers in this video. Look, he's in the video. Look, he's in there.
Strategic objectives are useless and add nothing to the war system, basically. But criticising the war system is beating a dead horse. Everyone knows it's one of the worst systems ever put in a game. So why am I making a video about Victoria 3, especially if I don't like it that much? The first thing that haters say when they can't touch my arguments is, why are you even talking about this? Just go away and...
Yeah, that's a dumb argument, by the way. You can talk about things that you... When you love something, you criticize it more. That's why I criticize Victoria 3, despite, you know, quote-unquote hating the game. I love the game. I just think it has a lot of problems, so completely agree with this.
Leave Victoria 3 alone. First of all, it's fun. I find the whole topic very enjoyable and amusing to talk about, and it's obviously directly relevant to my main content of Victoria 2. Furthermore, I think it's really important because I have a lot of things in this video that I don't think anyone else talks about, at least not a content creator in a video. And I believe I'm bringing forward some good insights, but I'll let you be the judge of that. One last thing I'd like to point out before I get into the video is that this is entirely separate from the Open Vic 2 project. This is my Victoria 3 personality, and I'm talking about that
Because
game
of
in this
all the
video.
time?
You can go
Yes.
and see some of my content about
True.
Open Vic 2 separately.
True.
You can join the community Discord server for that.
Here, I'll
Let's
put
make it clear
subtitles
that
on
these
if
are
they're
separate
available.
things. I would greatly appreciate it if you gave this video a like. You can join my Discord to continue these discussions and for the banter. And you can follow me on Twitch for various live streams, including Victoria 2. If you want to support this channel, which hasn't yet taken any sponsorships, you can
Does
join
chat
me on
cover the
Patreon.
subtitles? Probably a little bit, right? Chat probably
Well, in
covers
the
those a
intro
little
to the
bit.
video, you just saw some of the fun
That's
stuff
fine.
that was happening about the Victoria 3 leak, so I'll briefly mention that. The leak was a big thing for about a week or two, but I don't think it had very much impact at all. It demoralised the Victoria 3 development team for a little while, but they got back up again and got their morale back up. And they were able to say with quite some justification at the time at least, that bugs and general issues with the game that were in the leak would be fixed. And they said giving feedback based on the leak wasn't fair because that's not what they intended to get feedback on, and they're already aware of loads of problems. I think those responses to the leak situation situation were fair for them to say, but you can judge for yourself whether they were proven right or wrong. The thing that's infinitely more important than that is that they also didn't listen to our feedback based on what they did show us in their dev diaries and public statements and gameplay. It took until patch 1.2 for them to do the U-turn on autonomous investment, but people were telling.
Interesting. So people knew, even before the release, they weren't going to have this. It's funny thing is that the autonomous investment is so bad. They did the U-turn, but then actually it's such a bad feature of the game though. It's so weird because it needs more infrastructure around it besides just like throwing in random building, right? That's what's the weird thing is.
I think I dislike this change, to be honest. It shouldn't be
Right.
that difficult, especially with so many years on, 2021, to have a free market economy represented in the game. What should have been the benefit of laissez-faire in Victoria 2 is that you should have been able to build things faster. You're not building exactly what you want, but your pops are building what they perceive they need, and they should be able to do it faster than you can as a central government.
And more efficiently.
Yeah, and more efficiently. So I gotta be honest, I'm a little disappointed with this.
And I'm sure there are loads of examples on the forums, on Reddit, on the official Vic3 Discord, which is the highly controlled environment in which the devs looked most for feedback, where many other people made this criticism of Victoria 3's original direction, but they didn't listen to that at the time, and it only took their disastrous launch, and we'll talk about the mixed reviews and player count later, for them to realise it. That damages their credibility a lot. There's one thing that's very interesting in this state.
Okay, so they took a bit of a risk by not putting in the autonomous investment, right? Does that damage credibility? Like, does that damage credibility? I don't know about that. I think it's an experiment, right? So think about like in CK3, when they made it so you can have only 3 personality traits, that was like an experiment. Is the point he's making exactly? Yeah, I guess it's the idea that like that like they don't listen to the community is the idea, right? That's more the point that he's making. They don't listen to the community. I understand that's more the point he's making. I'm just thinking about like, is it when a game makes like a bad decision and then like walks it back, is that like a bad thing? In fact, it's something they showed and it didn't really. I see. Yeah, that's probably a fair point. Yeah, I think I agree with that point. I don't know. So I'll be honest. I didn't follow the pre-release. Victoria 3 got dropped on me. I didn't even follow the release of this game. And then everyone was asking me to play it, and I was like, okay, sure, I'll check it out. And then I was like, oh, fuck, I actually like this game a lot. I want to really get into this game. And then I started to hate the game, and I played it more, and now I'm here. So to be fair, with pre-release stuff, I have a very little context compared to someone like Spud, so I won't comment on it too much.
Statement, and that's when he says, but there's a reason why we haven't yet launched Victoria 3 in open beta, early access, or similar. And then he goes on to basically say that the game wasn't in any state to do that at the time. As we all know now, they never did go on to put it in open beta or early access, because the game was unfinished. But then they just released it. Why did he mention open beta as an early access here at all, if they had absolutely no intention of doing that? They should have done that though, and doing it for patch 1.2 has been a good thing. An open beta or early access would have greatly helped Victoria 3 not be released in such a bad state. But as I'm going to prove to you in the rest of the video, they were chasing those pre-orders, and they didn't really want you to know the state the game was in until after you'd paid for it. But the point is, the leak is actually
I love that we're speechless speech. That's
relevant
pretty funny.
in looking at all these problems with the game that were visible from day one. For people who actually played the leak, and I'm not one of them, they just got reinforced into their existing position. If they already wanted to buy the game, it confirmed that. If they already didn't want to buy the game, it confirmed that as well. I made that video to announce that the leak had happened, and I showed the gameplay in the video and talked about it. I completely understood and accepted the copyright strike I got for showing the leak on my video. I don't regret it for 1 second though. I didn't leak Victoria 3, surely all the blame lies squarely on that person, whoever they are, and for whatever reasons they did that.
No, I'm sure he's being honest. I'm sure he didn't play it, but he did show the gameplay, which I guess as far as Paradox is concerned is the same thing, right? What's the difference as far as Paradox is concerned?
Breaking whatever contract they had with Paradox in their closed beta. But since it happened, why not talk about it and tell the truth? If anything, that video must have helped Paradox to actually learn that the leak had happened. So I did them a favour, they can thank me later. The most tragic part of all of this is that my mutual advert with the Victoria 2 modding server was removed due to my coverage of the leak and the fact that people were talking about it and playing it on my Discord.
This is like George Orwell's book, 1984.
Exactly, Tara. But the thing is, I don't think that Spud had an NDA with Paradox, though. I assume that Spud wasn't a closed beta tester, so the person who leaked it is one that broke the NDA. Spud didn't have an NDA, but nonetheless, that's material that isn't necessarily allowed to be released, so he could be copyright struck for it, is the idea. It makes sense. It's legally, it makes complete sense. But still, I think that I appreciate his perspective, though, that at the end of the day, like, he'd rather have shown it than not, even though it was like unethical, quote unquote, because you know it makes sense to want to expose this kind of stuff. I completely agree with that.
Very chaotic and hectic days around the leak, but it's over now, and maybe we can rebuild this bridge. They were sucking up to Paradox at the time because they had a lot of modders going to Victoria 3 to start developing their mods early, which is why we got Divergences of Darkness on like day 2. We'll see how well that aged when we get to the player count and all that.
Yeah, exactly, Tara.
In some
yeah,
ways, the release of Victoria 3 was a massive success. In other ways, not so much. In terms of the copies they sold and the amount of money they made, definitely a success. Just over a month after launch, they claimed 500,000 copies sold, and you can do the maths in your head. They made this announcement on the 29th of November 2022, and a lot of news and articles covered it. Now here's the interesting part. They say...
Yeah, that was one thing I thought was really interesting, was that how much coverage Victoria 3 got. That was impressive, I will say. The sale, like, I was... When I saw, like, regular, like, game journalists talking about it, I was like, whoa, that's crazy. Normally Paradox games are just under the rug, you know? So that was pretty impressive, yeah.
500k games sold since its release. No, I'm not talking about the apostrophe that shouldn't be there. By saying this, Paradox are referring to people who bought the game after it came out, between then and making this announcement. But this doesn't add up with another piece of information that we learned before this, which is that Victoria 3 became a top seller on Steam before release, therefore through pre-orders.
All I would say to this is Steam in German, opinion discarded. Continue.
I can't find a figure for how many pre-orders there were, but since it became a top seller and from general anecdotal evidence we know it was a lot. My question is, are Paradox including pre-orders in this figure of 500,000 that they say was after release? Is this something that companies normally do? Because it seems really misleading to me, and they could easily...
I'm sure he'll explain why this matters, but I'm thinking, like, does that really matter? Like, whether or not they're pre-orders or not? I guess the idea is, like, when something sells a lot, it assumes that the game is good. Whereas if it's pre-orders, you don't know if the game's good or not. You just have a lot of hype, right? That's the distinction. I assume he'll expand on it though, so I'll let it.
They have a slight change of wording, so it doesn't say since release. If they're not including pre-orders, then why not? Don't they want to show off as many sales as possible and make themselves look more successful for all the shareholders as well as general publicity? They didn't make any separate statements about how many pre-orders they got. None of these articles from these so-called journalists seem to pick up on this or question it. With one notable exception, these are all just quite literally copying and pasting Paradox's statement, wording it in slightly different ways, such as in the space of a month in its first 30 days posted.
Yeah, dude, listen. Okay, look, the copy paste meta of articles in general is insane, dude. Let alone in gaming, in like all parts of journalism that I've seen, like a lot of them. It's a lot of like the reference, like you'll have like a footnote, right? It'd be like, here's like a statement in the footnote 1. You click on it, and it's a fucking reference to another journal that also footnotes to another journal. Holy shit, dude! Tracking down actual original sources these days is like impossible. I assume it's horrible in games journalism, but man, it's even tough in like regular media, dude. But either way, that's a side thing. The point is that yeah, I can totally see this happening. You know, exactly. They take from each other constantly, right? It's like in academia. Like, I'm an academic, right? Or I was. I don't do it much anymore. But I was an academic. That shit that never flies. Like just only ever taking from other people. Like you have to. You have to have some sort of baseline original source, right? Games journalism and lol icon makes me so sad. It is, you know, unfortunately, it is what it is. So show it later. Okay, let's continue watching.
In under a month. This one's even more wrong because from the last time I checked, 25th of October to 29th of November is over 1 month.
That's just wrong.
No wonder AI is going to take all these people's jobs. Grammatically speaking, none of these things could include before launch in pre-orders. I guess it falls to me, that random Victoria 2 multiplayer idiot, to ask these questions. The exception was this one from TechRaptor here, who say despite mixed reviews, the only one that seems to mention the mixed reviews, which are a huge elephant in the room. And they actually go on to make a few more very good points that represent a large chunk of the Paradox player base. As a matter of fact, this actually sums up the release very well and shows how out of touch Paradox are with the players. I'm going to go and get all my news from TechRaptor, to be honest, lads. Are they open for sponsorships? The reason I mentioned pre-orders is because...
Yeah, maybe I gotta check TechRaptor out, dude. I was reading that little blurb there and I was like, man, that looked like some good shit. Very key to understanding why Victoria 3 was a success. It became a success before it came out. People pre-ordered it. Victoria 3 benefited a lot from the general reputation and love for the brand Victoria. Not only people that like Victoria 2, but all the people who see... I didn't even play... So to give you even more context, I didn't even play Victoria 2. But the amount of hype on Victoria 3, I was like, fuck it. I'll give it a shot, right? Like, it pulled in... I can't imagine how many non-Victoria players Victoria 3 pulled in because of the hype. Because you have Victoria 2 people who are so immensely hype, and that just spreads, right? Like, I can totally see how this game would be, like, probably one of the most hyped Paradox games, like, ever. Because, oh my god, the hype around this game. Everyone's asking me about fucking, are you gonna play Victoria 3? Are you gonna play Victoria 3? I'm like, dog, I didn't play Victoria 2. I don't even know. I play CK3, motherfucker. Same with CK3. CK3, I think, wasn't nearly as hype as Victoria 3. CK3 was pretty hype, although to be fair, it's a long time ago, so maybe my memory's not right. CK3 was pretty hype, but I feel like Victoria 3 was on a whole other level. Like, Victoria 3 was just way beyond. I don't know, in my opinion.
Victoria 2 think it's too complicated and would like a more accessible version. And there are loads of other factors such as people's interest in this historical period and so on, including the numerous military conflicts
I watched that video
took place
too.
in this bloody period of human history. But Paradox massively marketed and pushed for pre-orders, including providing a pre-order bonus. Worst of all, that bonus, which was the remastered Victoria 2 soundtrack in Victoria 3, was designed to tug on the heartstrings of Victoria 2 players, by giving them something that they know and love. Victoria 3 would offer little else of that. They didn't even offer a music player on launch. That came in patch 1.
Bro, true. When these like little features that are so minor get tacked on, like in changelogs and stuff, I'm like, damn, that's kind of sad.
Point 2. Pushing for pre-orders this much indicates to me that Paradox were not confident in their final product on release. Well, as we all know, a Paradox game on release is nowhere near a final product.
So there's nothing special there. I was gonna say nothing special there at all.
Wanted to get as many sales as they could before the release, before people could catch on to the fact that it was a broken mess, as well as all the other issues. Of course, the players did realise this, only a day or two after release when it reached mixed reviews. But Paradox had already made their millions by then, cracking open bottles of champagne and patting each other on the back. Then of course you have refunds. It's another thing that I just can't find the figures for. It's not something they're going to tell us. And this goes back to Paradox's statement and all those articles again.
Yeah, damn, now I wonder how many of those 500,000 copies sold got refunded. But I feel like, okay, I'll tell you this. You cannot figure out if Victoria 3 is a good game or not in 2 hours. Like, because in Steam you get the no questions asked refund after 2 hours or whatever, right? I don't know how bad, like the game wasn't like, oh, like in 2 hours you'll know it's a bad game. The game is kind of game where the first like, this sounds like it sounds like I'm praising it, but the first 50 hours of Victoria 3 are actually pog as fuck, like unironically. Like first 50 hours of Victoria 3 are amazing. Okay, after that it's like, oh, suddenly the game is really boring because you realize that you've experienced everything in the 50 hours. Now, 50 hours for some games is a lot of time. For a grand strategy Paradox game, that is nothing. That is literally like 2 playthroughs of the game. That is nothing at all. So you hate to see it. So I'm tabbing out so I can read chat more easily because the chat text is white and the video is white, so I can't read. Solaris, at that point, typical example, failed launch, 9,000 daily plays lowest, while IR retained 300 and was killed off. Victoria the average 5k, not great but not horrible. Will it get killed off? Time will tell. I don't think Victoria will get killed off, but it had a bit of a lackluster launch for sure. Very frustrating in 2 hours. You have to have like 20 to be able to know it's outright bad. Exactly, Boostar. That's what I mean. Like people who refund in 2 hours, how would you can't know if this game is good or not in 2 hours. So they probably didn't get a lot of refunds. I imagine you had very little refunding in this game. But let's see what he says, because people are saying that he'll talk more about it.
Because even if 499,999 people refunded it, the 500k figure would still be technically true. I know quite a lot of people anecdotally who refunded it, but that doesn't really mean much. Steam only allows you to refund games if you've played them for less than 2 hours, and we know that Victoria 3 and grand strategy games in general, you know, they lend themselves to long playthroughs, and it would take a while before you really get a grasp on the game and learn it, and are able to shit on it accurately. One of the things about Victoria 3 is that all playthroughs are basically the same, and there's barely any difference between any countries. There's a well-attested lack of flavour. All you do in any country is just build buildings. 2 hours isn't enough to get through your first playthrough, let alone your second one, only to realise that it's exactly the same as the first one. This will be a massive contributor to the player count fall-off that we'll look at later, but people couldn't...
The only thing... more funnily enough, being a speedrunner greatly benefits Victoria 3's replayability. Again, I'm alt-tabbing so I can see chat. Because... The only part of Victoria 3 that will be different, also I know how to fix this, hold on, I'm so smart. There you go, now you can see it while I'm talking. The only big difference between like each playthrough is your opening moves. Genuinely, when you play America, when you play France, when you play Britain, the first 10 years of the game are actually going to be like, oh, this is like a different game in a sense, where it's like, okay, my playthrough is going to be quite different in the first opening years. Because as America, my opening move always is Puppet Mexico, right? Speedruns actually are so different. Exactly, yeah. When you, like, for me, what kept the game going for me for a while was the speedrunning. Because I'm like, oh crap, like hold on, like when I play America, I do actually get a very different playthrough than when I play Britain, because the opening moves are so radically different. But most people aren't speedrunning, you know what I mean? Most people aren't doing that. So if you're not doing that, then you're really not getting the you're not getting out of the game that difference that you'd be hoping to get, right? Like the lack of, because to me, I hate when people say Victoria 3 needs flavor. Flavor won't fix the game, okay? Flavor is like a mission tree in EU4, okay? A mission tree in EU4 is going to pull you back in for like one playthrough, and then you're still going to leave because the mission tree is fun. Oh, that's great. And then the game still has problems. I'm not saying EU4 has problems, but you know what I mean. Like, mission trees pull you in, and then once again have the same issues. If Victoria 3 got a shit ton of journal entries and they got all this cool stuff, cool flavor going on, it's not gonna fix the fact that building buildings is not really that fun. Hey, Mishi's now you talking about language, bro. Look, as a casual EU4 player, I like mission trees because casuals like them. Because mission trees are a way to be like, hey, like come play this new country you never played before. This will be fun. It's a new experience, right? But like I'm a casual. If I say that, I mean I'm a speedrunner. But I'm like a casual EU4 player. I like to go in, like to follow my Britain mission tree and have a bit of fun, get some cool modifiers, and then leave. Right? Then not play the game for 6 years and then come back when the new mission trees come out. But it's not good game though. It's not good game design. It's not like a good way to create like mechanics that will last the test of time and that are interesting to follow and stuff. It just means that now you have the excuse to come and play one more. Like when I play America, I played America in Victoria 3, and I tried having a civil war, and I experienced the Reconstruction era and all that, and then the game was the exact same after that. I just played a regular game. I came in, did that once, and then left. That's all. What the fuck's the point? You know? Hoi 4 flavor and gameplays mission tree. I haven't played much Hoi 4, so I won't comment too much. But from what I understand, Hoi 4 makes up for it with the actual strategic depth of the game. Like obviously, single player Hoi 4 is probably relatively boring, but Hoi 4 is like actually a lot more deep, I think. But I don't know. I haven't played it. I can't speak to it. I don't play it much. I played I think like 30 hours of Hoi 4, which again sounds like a lot, but for a Paradox game, it's nothing. Yeah, mission trees are fun for casuals and no one else. Not for like the players that play a lot, you know? Let's see, booster, what does that say? I gotta move my thing here. Here we go. The mission trees change the balance even drastically. I think that's bad, even for casual playthroughs. Other than that, I guess mission trees being neat for massively casual players. Exactly. I like to hop in, like for example, the new EU4 DLC, Dominance or whatever it's called. I'm excited to try out the Ottoman's mission tree. I like what they showed off. I'm like, that looks really cool, right? But I know that what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna play that mission tree like once or whatever, right? I'm gonna go play that mission tree like once, maybe twice, because it's got branching paths, right? So maybe I'll do twice or maybe even 3 times, right? And then I'm gonna never play it ever again. I know what I'm gonna do with EU4, and that's obviously a problem for your game's long-term health. It's not really making a good game. It's making like a game that has like some little bits and pieces add on to it. The difference is that EU4 is a good game. The EU4 I find is fun. Even if you don't have mission trees, you can play like a no mission tree EU4 game and it'll still be fun. It's still enjoyable. Mission trees are kind of like added flavor, right? That's totally fine. Victoria 3 isn't super good and it has no flavor. You have to make the game good first, then you have to add the flavor. Victoria 3 isn't bad by any means, but it's just not. It's not what it needs to be. It's mediocre at best. That's why it's mixed, I guess, on Steam. It's mediocre. The flavor will help, but it's not going to fix the mediocrity of the base game. You can rip mission trees out of EU4 and it's still a good game. You can't with Victoria 3. If you add journals, you won't make it a good game. There for like roleplay, yeah, but you know roleplay only lasts so long, right? And also you need systems to incentivize roleplay. I talk about the CK3 a lot, but yeah, okay. But not enough though. Enough talking. Video time. Okay, back to the video.
Fund it on this basis because they didn't have long enough, and Paradox made millions. But let me tell you what I did in my own 2-hour refund window. When I got the game, I went into single player for about 20 minutes and tried to make sense of it. What's this? Alright, so and then I played a 4-hour multiplayer game. 1 hour 40 minutes into that wasn't even scratching the surface of the game. I was figuring out really bad things right up until the end, after which obviously I couldn't refund it. Likewise for all the people I played that multiplayer game with. And the funny thing is...
Yeah, so obviously, the Steam's TR refund policy simply isn't going to work for Victoria. Because I will say, okay, if you don't understand the game, like you need time to, when I first picked up Victoria 3, I played Sweden, and I did not know how the hell anything worked, right? Like, oh, you know, I didn't know how anything worked, right? And that's like, you know, that's a problem, right? I mean, obviously it's gonna suck, but you do have to learn the game first before you can judge. But I think Spud, I'm pretty sure, did play enough of the game to be able to judge it. But I think just obviously the refunds are gonna be a problem because of that. But that's a hard thing to fix. I don't know how you fix the refund solution for games like Paradox games. None of the Paradox games can you possibly know if you want to refund it within 2 hours, and that's kind of just like a thing. You'd have to have like custom refund times on Steam, but no one's going to do that. Point is that that's kind of inevitable for these kinds of games.
A lot of my 2-hour refund window was spent in the menus waiting for a rehost because of the unstable multiplayer.
True.
I streamed it for another few hours, where I tried to really get into the nitty-gritty of the economy, where I realised it's basically just the Hoi 4 construction queue and civ factories. I'll never get over how they just copied it.
I never thought to compare it to that. That's actually really smart. I've played Hoi 4 a bit. I never thought to. I guess it is just the civs kind of thing. I think it's a little more complex though, obviously, but it looks the same, right? That's a problem.
Pasted this fundamental section of the economy from a war game, and this is what we get after 12 years. And of course I tried to fight a war. Are you ready for a Victoria 3 war? Are you fucking ready? The battle is up here for some reason. I didn't decide this, but it's happening there and I'm losing. He rolled a better maneuver. My
Everyone
general
hates
only
fronts.
decided to use 32 units against 67. I didn't have any input over that. It's at that point that I wish I could have refunded it after like 7 or 8 hours, but alas I couldn't. I barely played it since. That's my own personal anecdote about the refund time. Tell me in the comments, what were all your experiences within that 2-hour refund window?
So he played it for like 8 hours, then gave up on the game. I will say, okay, like, probably should give it more of a shake, because the game has fun parts. But yes, the problem is that, like, not everyone wants to spend 8 hours learning a game in order to play it, and they should be able to get a refund, hopefully, but yeah, whatever.
What did you do in
I've talked about it
Victoria 3 in that time? Do you wish you could have refunded it later as well?
What did I do in the first 8 hours of Victoria 3? I played as Sweden, went bankrupt a bunch, got multiculturalism, and then had, like, a bunch of immigrants, and that was really funny. I find it really funny to open the cultural map mode and see Stockholm be majority Han. Because I kept on getting mass migrations from China. That was my very first playthrough. I had like mass migrations, and I found it. I was just having a really good time watching the population stats change. But I also had no idea how the economy worked. I didn't know what I was doing, and I had like I was doing terribly. But you know, actual comment budget posters, factory count, yeah, of course. Anyway, resuming.
Let's go really in-depth on the pre-orders. There is a lesson that we need to learn here. To start illustrating my point, let's go back to May 2021 when they announced Victoria 3. As you can see here on the Paradox Plaza Reddit, 5,600 upvotes for begging you not to pre-order it, just after it was announced and we knew next to nothing about the game itself.
Yeah, I'll always be like, don't pre-order things. I'll always give you that advice. I might pre-order something as a streamer, because the thing is, for me, okay, when I buy a Victoria 3, I was interested in the game genuinely, but I knew I was going to play it because, look, okay, I'm a content creator, and I know it's going to be a big topic. I'm going to pre-order the game because I know even if it sucks ass, I'm playing it. You as the consumer should, unless you have a financial incentive to be pre-ordering it like I do, you should never pre-order a game. Never. Like, just don't. Wait until it comes out. Like, that's, you know, bruh. He pre-orders because he isn't big enough to get it for free. Yes, exactly. Same here. Yeah, that's why I got to pre-order. I don't get gifted stuff from Paradox yet. Not yet anyway. Not yet anyway.
Yet. And their marketing machine hasn't had time to get going. Everyone has Paradox's track record of releases on their mind here, and this person is very correctly pointing out that pre-orders just encourage Paradox to release more broken and unfinished games. Now let's fast forward well over a year to August 30th.
I got it for free and I wish I could refund it.
The release
Giga Chad Blobber, Ultimate Giga Chad Blobber.
Date of Victoria 3, as well as opening up pre-orders and starting to publicise them. Oh, what happened? Downvoted this time.
Wait, hold on, I gotta listen again, sorry, I interrupted, so I didn't understand. Let me listen to this again. I'm sorry, I want to make sure I understood that.
Plaza Reddit, 5,600 upvotes.
Hold on, what's this? Thanks for stuff. I'm actually gonna, so actually, for the sake of respect to Spud, I'm actually gonna turn off notifications from that stuff. So if you want to do subs or anything, do it after the video, because I'm turned them off, because I don't want shit coming up on his video. This is a critique video about Victoria 3. I'm gonna listen to this section again. Because
there is a lesson that we need to learn here. To start illustrating my point, let's go back to May 2021 when they announced Victoria 3. As you can see here on the Paradox Plaza Reddit, 5,600 upvotes for begging you not to pre-order it, just after it was announced and we knew next to nothing about the game itself.
Right, yeah.
And their marketing machine hasn't had time to get going. Everyone has Paradox's track record of releases on their mind here, and this person is very correctly pointing out that pre-orders just encourage Paradox to release more broken and unfinished games. Now let's fast forward well over a year to August 30th, 2022, when
what happened on August 30th? Oh, he's
just announced the release date of Victoria 3, as well as opening up pre-orders and starting to publicise them. Oh, what happened?
Is this the person? Is this the same post? No, it's a new post, but it's like same message.
Voted this time. No,
Damn.
wait, actually, it's fine. I found the thread encouraging you not to pre-order. It's got over 900 upvotes.
Okay. Oh, what the fuck? Yo, Giga Chad. Jebaited. Oh, where? He fucking got me. He got me, dude. You're part of the problem? Yeah, I mean, you know, don't blame yourself. I mean, ultimately, like, it's not that big of a deal, but, you know. Ramadan Kareem, boys. Ramadan Kareem. Ramadan Mubarak. That was the most easiest pre-order, lol. I honestly feel played, but I've gotten over 100 hours, so it's a good trade-off. Yeah, but you gotta expect more from Paradox games, though. You got 100 hours of a Paradox game is not the same thing as 100 hours of a regular game, okay? A lot of that is wasted time, sorry to say it, but...
Ah, never mind.
My god.
Some sensible voices in there, but they just get drowned out in a sea of soy. Now, if we go back to
I will say this is Reddit, okay? What are you expecting from Reddit? Okay? Expecting from Reddit. Okay, this is Reddit we're talking about. Okay, this is the most soy place. I've been called right? Okay? I was called on Reddit one time an anti-paradox propagandist. Okay? Can I find that? Hold on, let me go to my Reddit. I'll show you guys my Reddit, okay? I was called an anti. I've been insulted on this platform. Okay. let me go find it. Can I find it? Am I gonna be able to find it easily? I think I put it in my CK3 critique video or something. Like it's one of the early posts. Guide. Was it here? It might have been in this post. I'll check. I'm gonna find it. Not this one. I got downvoted for it though. It might have been this one. I got downvoted hard for this video. And see, look right here. Okay, to be fair, I didn't get called an anti-prox propagandist, but look at this shit, dude. I did a fucking review of a DLC, and this is what Reddit does to you, and it's got 9 upvotes and I've got 4 downvotes. This video was not even this controversial. This was a very neutral review, okay? And look at the like to dislike on YouTube. I only got a couple dislikes for this, okay? It's like 10 people, but this is like, I got ratioed so hard. I'm upset. I'm angry, okay? This is insulting. All right, point is that Reddit is not a community I put too much stock in. Got the people confronted. I wish I was paid to be upset, dude. Reddit said this is like me soying out about Reddit. I'm actually being the problem. I'm being the problem. Someone stop me. Okay, let's continue.
That thread where they talk about it becoming a top seller before release. Most of the comments are positive about this, saying it's a good thing. But if we go all the way down to the bottom to our fallen comrades,
minus 15
a pre-order
points.
being in the top seller list is sad, not something worth praising.
Well, let's get to his grave. Rest in
Do
peace.
not pre-order this game. What's wrong with you? We're gonna regret it real soon. Fucking hell, me, I'm scared. This person tried to warn you, but no one listened to him.
Damn.
This is what a year of marketing does to people.
You are not immune to propaganda.
Can everyone please repeat after
the
me?
way TB's relate here? The way that TB's related is that Total Biscuit famously was very anti-pre-orders. He was like, don't pre-order games. You know, you need to not make it so that companies can get away with this shit because they will exploit it. And he was very much correct. He was very correct. Where like he said that if you start pre-ordering, companies are going to release bad shit, pre-order, and you're not going to do anything about it. And that's kind of what happened. But yeah.
Paradox game ever again. Say that 100 times, drill it into your skull. Pre-ordering is a decision that you make before the game comes out based on the information you have at that time. Before it came out, the only people who had actually ever played Victoria 3 were hand-picked by Paradox, unless you count the leak of course. All of those people are incentivized to show the game in as good a light as possible, if not actively paid to tell you to pre-order it. One thing that makes it less excusable that so many people pre-ordered this mess was Paradox's own streams of their game before release. Those were a comedy of errors, Victoria 3's developers sitting there in front of thousands of people, experiencing their own bugs.
I think I have fun.
This kind of shit's always funny. I remember this would happen with CK3's DLCs. When they would stream the DLC teaser stuff for CK3, right? And then they would see their own bugs, and I was like, you motherfuckers. It's like, god damn it. It's so fucking... It's so funny when that happens. And the thing is, like, a few bugs is okay here and there, but like, man, sometimes those bugs really add up, you know?
Found a menu bug. There's probably what's destroying it.
Many of which turned out to be in the game on
Confederates,
release. Obviously, it was a pretty good thing that they did those streams and they were very open and honest. These are just the developers.
That's true.
This was about 2 months before release and the game was in a laughable state. So laughable that the devs were laughing at it. They were probably sitting there hoping for the marketing team to work.
The funny thing, Baron Cake, is that they don't ignore the bugs. Like here, you can see that this bug, I mean, it's more like unintended consequence. I will say there's a difference between bug and like poor design, right? So the Confederacy being in the North is not working unintended. It's not like it is a break in the code. It's that the way the game is created, there's no check to make sure the North doesn't join the Confederacy. It's not a bug. It's a poorly made system. But the point is that they don't hide it. They do actually show it. But like, I guess they just don't... People don't take it seriously. Because we know everyone's used to Paradox being broken and stuff, right? It's like when Leviathan came out. And Leviathan is actually the best example, the EU4 DLC Leviathan. Like they Like that came out. That was like the only time I remember seeing a massive upset from the Paradox community was Leviathan. Everything else you would just ignore. That was so bad. Yeah, the Leviathan was the straw that broke the camel's back. People actually complained about that a lot and like bombed that DLC. No one else, you know. No one else ever done anything.
Their magic. I suppose a lot of people still held out hope that the game would improve in the short amount of time between those streams and release, and that they would fix the bugs, but those streams really did show how boring the game is and how terrible the war system is. I don't think I can say pre-ordering is universally always bad in every circumstance for every game by every company, but in this case with Paradox it really needs to stop, because they
Dog, the only time pre-ordering is okay is if it's the kind of game where you were gonna buy it anyway because you're like a franchise loyal or something. Like, for example, for me, CK3, I pre-ordered that shit immediately. It didn't matter if the game was good or bad. I'm playing CK3, okay? There's only a couple of exceptions where it's like, okay, look, like if like it when CK4 comes out, I'm pre-ordering it. Yeah, period. Okay, just buy on launch. Yeah, yeah, fair enough. But then they might have like pre-order exclusives or whatever the fuck, right? If there's a lot of pre-order exclusives, you know you're a Giga fan and you want to buy the game, okay, fine, get it. That's like the one time. Other than that, nah. What's the point of the useless goodies? I don't know. Maybe you like them, right? Maybe you like them or something. To be fair, though, I will say, I will counter my own point, Omega lol. Okay, I'll counter my own point. You also shouldn't pre-order, though, because you don't want to encourage game developers to put pre-order bonuses if you know they'll make money. So, in that sense, I have to be, like, ontologically against pre-ordering, which I actually am. I go back and forth because it's hard for me to say it when I do it, but then I remind myself that I have only pre-ordered, like, Victoria 3 and CK3 in the past, like at least like 6 years. I haven't pre-ordered a single game before then. Or I think I pre-ordered Cyberpunk, which I regretted immensely. I think I pre-ordered that. I don't remember if I did or not though. But yeah, whatever. The point is, like, don't pre-order stuff because it encourages and incentivizes poor behavior.
Keep getting away with lackluster, bad, buggy releases. Something very curious that not many other people have pointed out is that Victoria 3 was pulled from the Xbox Games Pass. They said it would be on the pass when they announced Victoria 3 in 2021, and they even put out a trailer on the Xbox channel which is still there, where the Xbox logo flies out at you followed by the Paradox logo, but then they very quietly removed it on the 30th of August 2022, when they announced the release date and did their first developer stream. While everyone was busy watching their stream where they publicised pre-ordering it on Steam, and didn't mention removing it from the Games Pass, they quietly mentioned that over here on a random forum post, which actually received a lot of disagreement and critical responses. That poor community ambassador they sent out here to do their dirty work while they got all the glory on their stream. This led to a lot of confusion. Even one of those articles I showed you earlier that came out on the 30th of November 2022, over a month after release, still says it's on the Xbox Game Pass.
Funny.
All of the discussion about this is centered around Paradox and whether they were getting enough money from Microsoft to do this, but I'm going to give you my own theory which explains how this helped Paradox sell the broken product that was...
I'm going to try to think of what his argument will be about why it didn't go on Xbox Game Pass. Is it gonna be because does Xbox Game Pass have like standards for games? Did they play it and be like, what the fuck is this? And then like reject it? Is that something that they did? I don't know if Xbox Game Pass does that, but maybe I don't know. But maybe I don't know what he's gonna say. Let's see.
Victoria 3 on release, and how it was bad for the consumer. If you were going to get the Game Pass to play Victoria 3 and you hadn't had it before, the first month is very cheap, just $1. So they were putting all their eggs in the pre-order basket on Steam.
Oh, okay. That's a little more conspiratorial. I don't know about that. I don't know. To me, that's getting into like real conspiracy territory theory, where like they're trying to really ensure that it gets pre-ordered, so don't let it be on Xbox Game Pass. Because I think the amount of money that Microsoft would pay them would probably be more than what the... Well, would it be? I don't know. Maybe I'm coping. I could be coping. This might be where I'd be called like a Paradox propagandist or whatever. I don't know.
Sales, rather than allowing people to play it for a cheaper amount. If it had turned out to be on the Games Pass, people would have been able to play Victoria 3 for 1 month for the equivalent of $1. They could have realised how buggy it was without paying full price. It's like a demo in a way. 1 month is more than enough time to realise how shallow the game was. Remember when I was talking about refunding? But Paradox prevented anyone from doing that. They would rather you have a 2-hour window at full price than a month-long window at $1. Of course, if the game was actually a viable product on launch, they wouldn't have had to worry about this. But that's just one theory, and to be fair, the whole Microsoft Store and downloading and playing games on that platform is terrible. It's really bad. I wouldn't recommend getting any games on it unless there's a situation where you can save as much money as you potentially could have there. In the same statement where Paradox announced their dubious 500,000 figure, they also announced that they were nominated for the Best Strategy Game of 2022. Congratulations on being nominated. What a great achievement it was to be a strategy game that happened to be released in the year of our Lord 2022 AD. There weren't very many others.
True, nominations don't mean a whole lot, right? Well, I will say they mean something. They just don't mean a lot, right? Like the thing is that nominations, so much like with the Oscars, movie nominations for like movie and game nominations are just based on clout. They're not really based on like, well, they're somewhat based on quality. And this with the Oscars there anyway. Like I remember the Oscars this year, most of the movies that were there, none of them that were on the Oscars this year were like not deserving to be there. You know? That in my opinion. I don't know. I also didn't watch all of them. Maybe some of them were, but I just hadn't watched them. But like, you know, it's clout. It's more about your clout than it is about your actual quality. That's all. That's what I think. The Game Awards are like about clout. Yeah. Based.
Of course Victoria 3 lost, but a small part of me was hoping that it would win for the pure clown world material. People were making fun of the fact that it lost to some Mario game, but I think that's a bit harsh on the Mario game, which looks very good in its own genre, which is quite different from Victoria 3. It's more of an XCOM style game. This whole award was very silly anyway. These games are all very different despite being under the general umbrella of strategy. And simulation. Was there not a forklift simulator or farm simulator released in 2022? Those will be better than Victoria 3. Maybe Victoria 3 would have won if it entered as more of a filing cabinet simulator than strategy game. A pretty good strategy game, Knights of Honor 2 was released on the 6th of December 2022, but it didn't count because it was too late to be nominated. These awards were held on the 8th of December. I don't see anything wrong with holding these awards in January 2023 so you can catch everything in 2022. So I've already mentioned how the reviews on Steam got to mixed. They went down to 63% and stayed at 63% for a long time, maybe a couple of months. Dropping to mixed reviews completely vindicated everything we'd been saying, but it also shows when the actual players got their hands on it, they felt very differently from all those reviewers and the people that Paradox paid to shill it. And everyone who pre-ordered it started to look very silly, and things turned on the Paradox forum and on Reddit. People were actually criticising the game and not getting downvoted into nothing. I said this towards the end of the War System video, but the absolute best thing about all these people is that they would turn on Paradox in the blink of an eye if Paradox did something they didn't like. We saw it with Imperator Rome, and we see it with every DLC that doesn't go down well. And if Victoria 3 doesn't go down well, which I cannot predict at this point, well, that could get ugly as well. Now obviously I don't have to go and grab too many examples from the Paradox forums and Reddit to show how there was a massive switch when the game actually came out. From the discourse being overwhelmingly positive about the game and shutting down any negative opinion, to it becoming balanced and negative opinions actually being able to come to the forefront. When it came to the Steam reviews, there was a lot of coping, especially these completely unsubstantiated claims of review bombing. I've never seen a single shred of evidence for this.
People are always going to cope, right? So this is one thing, like, people are always going to do this crap. Not every negative is a review bomb, obviously, but I mean, what do you expect, though? This is always going to happen. Like, this even happens with CK3's DLCs. I'm making some comparisons to CK3 because I know it better, but, like, you know, CK3 DLCs go through this, too. It's like, Royal Court, right? Oh my god, it's so good, it's so hype, and I'm sitting there getting called an anti-Paradox propagandist. I'm sorry, I'm going back to the Reddit argument again. Okay. Oh my god, Royal Court's so good. Oh my goodness. Oh my god, it's amazing. And then I play it, and I'm like, this is kind of mediocre. I get fucking shit on. Whatever. Okay. Whatever. Okay, this is a mediocre DLC. And then eventually, of course, the Lily Brent free downloads. Yeah, I still suffer from the trauma. And then, of course, eventually the opinion switches over time, right? But, you know, people always do this, and then one thing I will say that's nice is that it seems like Paradox's community does tend to eventually move towards, like, accepting negativity, but there's always the initial hype, right? And then the negativity comes later. It always goes that way, which is unfortunate. But yeah, that would be a review. Exactly, Tara Kitsune. That would be an actual review bomb if you started to attack other Paradox games because of Victoria 3 or something. But yeah.
The people who really hate Victoria 3, such as many people in the Vic 2 community, just didn't buy the game, therefore can't review it. It's just an easy accusation to throw out when the reviews aren't going their way. People also said a lot of the negative reviews didn't have enough playtime to justify their review. Even Isora Productions said that in the intro to his video, which was a negative video about Victoria 3 where he gave it a 6 out of 10, and showed integrity by rejecting the sponsorship for it. The thing is, this was a
based
non-argument
Isora
because there were
Productions.
also loads of positive reviews, which also had minimal playtime. There was no correlation here. There are positive and negative reviews with varying levels of detail and varying levels.
Yeah, is this a positive review bomb when you have, like, you can't review Victoria 3 in 12 hours, right? So I wonder if that's like the inverse review bomb, right? Is when you go in and just massively spam positive shit, point to it review time. Yeah, even worse. Yeah, even worse. But the funny thing is, 12 hours still isn't enough. Now, what is 0.2? What is a fifth of an hour? What is like 12 minutes? 12 minutes also isn't enough. Yeah. 12 is more than fine. Not for a game like Victoria 3. Not for Victoria 3, okay? You need more than 12 hours for Victoria 3. But 12 minutes, that's what 0.2 hours is. 12 minutes is nothing.
Of playtime. Also, a lot of the positive reviews came with some very big caveats. And some
Go
of them I
Green 3
read, I was
years
surprised they
based.
were actually a positive review. They completely dismantled the game and then recommended it. But the thing is, if you don't like the game and you want to leave a negative review for it, why would you play it anymore? If you don't like the game, you're done with it, and you might even refund it if you've played it less than 2 hours, and become part of Victoria 3's massive player count drop-off that we'll talk about later. If you're a food critic and you take one bite, decide it's disgusting and never eat the rest of it, even though the person who cooked it for you said it would be delicious, does that not count as a valid opinion? And furthermore, the cook also advertised this food as pizza too.
Based. Yeah, it's pretty based. I don't know about the food comparison. Because with a game like Victoria 3, you need more time to get it, whereas with a taste of a food, usually one taste is enough. But I guess the only difference between games and food is the length of the taste, right? A taste of Victoria 3 is like several hours long. A taste of a pizza is one bite, right? But at the same time, I understand the point completely, so I'm going to agree with the point, but just I don't know about the metaphor. That's all. I'm a metaphor. I don't... That's all. But it's fine, though.
So anyway, the release happened, and then a little while after that, the player count absolutely plummeted.
Yeah,
but
ISP
every
did
game
good,
does
yeah.
that, and the numbers you see here are completely meaningless alone. For that reason, this section is all about the comparisons with other games, how many players they had on launch, and how many players they retained in the following months, and all the talking points that those comparisons raise. Looking at the player count is obviously extremely important, and I can guarantee that Paradox have been paying very close attention as well. They may have got their 500,000 sales, but the players that they retain after that are more likely to buy their DLC, and of course it just shows the general state of the game. Are people losing interest?
Funnily enough, with Paradox's like model of making money and stuff, right? Like with the way that the Paradox makes money, the ongoing player count actually is so important. It's so important, you know what I mean? For them compared to other countries. Does he state his bias? You mean Spud Gun? I think he stated in the beginning about how he's a Victoria 2 guy and all that.
In it? Is it replayable? Do the numbers support all these people that say the game is lacking flavour and replayability? Even if the vanilla game is lacking, are mods keeping people interested? As of when I'm making this video, we've got patch 1.2 and a 20% sale, but we won't be able to see the effect of that until later, until we can look back on the data in retrospect, as we can with the launch and the months after that. So it would be extremely foolish to make any conclusions about patch 1.2 until later.
Joe Pesci? Is that you?
What the fuck is this piece
Oh,
of
this
shit?
graph,
Paradox
yeah.
released this graph in a forum post while I was making this video. It was actually really annoying after spending hours agonising over these details and stats that I'm working with, meticulously making sure that I get everything right, so that I can
Good
present
meme.
a fair and balanced video, only for Paradox to release the biggest example of lies, damned lies, and statistics.
Oh, Remy, yeah, he did mention that. Yeah, Remy. I know about his open Vic 2 thing. He did mention the Vic 2 stuff in the beginning. So yes, he did mention that bias.
You've ever seen. Now this graph is wildly misleading for a number of reasons. First of all, the reason I just gave you, which is that we are right in the middle of the effects of patch 1.2. They're showing the player count effect on it prematurely. It's obvious that patch 1.2 will raise the player count because it did improve the game, but we don't know yet how well that will be retained. Secondly, you're probably wondering why this graph says numbers in the tens of thousands, while the Steam charts that I gave you earlier say about 9,000 or something. That's because Paradox are using a different figure here. They're using the amount of unique players who launch Victoria 3 in a given day, whereas Steam charts and other Steam sources base their statistics on the amount of players playing the game at the same
Currently,
time. On an hour.
Yeah, obviously the stats that Paradox is using here are like not really representative. But what did they say? I'm gonna read that. So I'm just gonna quickly skim it. Hold on, let me go back so I can get his graph out of the way. 10,000 people are playing Victoria 3 every day. Yeah, see, like he says the date. I'll get rid of something else so you can read that. I don't know if you guys can read it, but our data shows 10,000 people are playing Victoria 3 every day. I'll be reminded of that. So in a way, that's correct, right? It's just that people are going to conflate this with Steam charts, right? When I say Steam is per hour, exactly, Blobber, exactly. That's the problem, right? Is that this is misrepresentative of what people associate with this graph. When people think of this graph, they think of concurrent players, right? He's about to say that? Okay, fuck. I'm sorry. I keep speaking for him. This is the problem with React content. He's going to say what I just said, isn't he? Oh, I'm going to go forward a little bit.
To account the amount of time that players are playing it in any given session. On the figures that Paradox give, if you launch Victoria 3 for any amount of time, you're counted. For example, in the making of this video, I launched Victoria 3 for well under a minute in order to quickly grab a screenshot to make a meme. I didn't actually play the game, but I'm counted in these numbers. I'm on there somewhere. Another issue with this graph is that the X and Y axes are not marked. I remember being told to always do.
Yeah, oh, true, dude. Well, I mean, Remy, I've done that before for thumbnails. I've actually there's many I've gone and opened games for like a quarter second for a thumbnail before, so that does happen. But yeah, true, you do have to label your graphs. That's really funny. I appreciate that. Although I will say, No, this is correct. I was gonna say, wait a minute. I was gonna say reverse the axis, but no, this is fine. You should always have time on the x-axis, and then your y variable, like your special variable. For active players, well, not when I not in that case. Graph isn't bad. Graph is bad. This is a bad graph.
Do that at school. As
But
you
yeah.
can see, the Steam charts graph is marked with the dates and the numbers, and it doesn't change the font size or the colour of a number to try and make it look flashy.
This is from the dev diary, yeah.
Which is frankly a clear sign of propaganda and misleading graphs. But at the end of the day, these two different methods are measuring the same thing, and if you place them over each other, the trends are the same over.
Don't force them to think of Steam as your god. I don't think it that way. No, I just the stats are better. I don't like Steam stats make more sense than the Victoria stats. That's all. I don't know. You're coping. I'm not gonna give in to the cope. You're coping.
Obviously, it goes up for the weekend and down for the weekdays, but there are way more unique players than concurrent players at patch 1.2, which means that these 14,000 extra players are playing it for less time. Paradox's graph is more useful for finding people who are just checking out the patch.
Players per day is easier to understand. You think so? Put players per day is easier to understand. Because of time zones and Irish concurrent. That's fair enough. I can respect that. So yeah, presentation wise, yeah, you know, okay, I can expect that. Like, so presentation wise, it'll be easier to read, right? Because obviously the Steam graph, you look there, it looks like disgusting, right? That doesn't look very impressive compared to per hour. So that makes sense. I think I can give that. Yeah, in that way, that's fair. But I think that people probably. I will say, how much responsibility does Paradox have to be open about what that graph really says, doing every day? I don't know. I guess in that way I can accept it. Like, you know what? Maybe it's actually fair. I'm gonna think about it for a second. It's Ramadan, so you know I'm hungry. So I gotta think more. This is where you put the meme where it's like the computing thing on my head, you know. Is it truly openly traded? Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm not saying these stats aren't fake. It's just that I think that it plays into a hype they're trying to build. But to be fair, they're always trying to build hype, right? No, that's true though. Commodore, that's not copium. That is true. Average players per hour per day. Yeah, it gets too complicated, right? It was super for that. That's true. Yeah. Okay, how would you, like? Let's say I'm in Paradox's shoes. What graph do I put instead? Right. Let me think about this from let me sit in the other person's shoes. Right. What graph would I put instead? If I were trying to be as honest as possible, right? If I were to be as honest as possible, I would put the number of hours played. That's what I would put, right? Like that. If I were trying to be like the most consumer friendly, honest possible, instead of doing like number of players per day, it'd be like number of hours played per day. That would probably be the stat I would use, because that would most accurate percent. But to be fair, people don't understand that graph as well as players, so I don't blame them. I think in that case I wouldn't blame them. But I do take the point about how this graph is not representative of like the actual like real player base, kind of like chainly doing something. That's the thing. I think that's the. If ours is skewed though, is it skewed? What? How is that skewed? What time would be the best? Like, I don't know. Like I don't think it would be skewed, because you're gonna have some people who just come in and play for like 5 minutes. How much data is Paradox collecting anyway? I'm pretty sure this data well, they collect a lot of data. Have you seen their data? They collect a shit ton of data, but they can definitely get the number of hours played. That's not like a weird amount of data. That's like a regular kind of data to collect. Because Paradox collects a lot of data. That's how they have those posts that are like 600,000 countries formed, 200 journal entries complete, you know, whatever it is they do. I don't remember what they write, but, you know, I think that'd be a nice compromise. I think that'd be a nice compromise, number of hours played, between like trying to have a nice presentation and trying to be honest, right? I think that's reasonable, you know. But whatever, we're sitting here on this point for too long. I think that basically Spud's being a little too harsh. Paradox is being a little bit too, like, you know, wishy-washy, and the best alternative is probably just show the hours played per day. That'd be a good way to do it.
Long they play it, whereas the Steam charts graph is more useful for finding long playthroughs, people actually playing the game, doing a campaign. If you played Victoria 3 for an hour or more, then you're on the Steam charts graph. The last reason, and by far the most important reason that these figures are misleading, is because they have absolutely no context or comparison. These stats are cherry-picked by...
That's all stats, though. Maybe he'll say this. I should stop before, because he's going to say this, isn't he? That's all stats, though, dude. All stats, if they're not put in their context, are basically just, like, meaningless. But yeah. Even the stats he's showing, but although he has context from the video, even the Steam chart stats are going to be meaningless without the context, right? But I think he is putting context, so I can respect that.
by Paradox to make themselves look good. They absolutely have the right to do that, but I have the right to point out how it's misleading. It completely fails to mention the elephant in the room, which are the launch stats, which would be to the left on this graph. To illustrate how easy it is to use stats to mislead you, let's look at Paradox's share price graph. This graph shows an entire year. The full context is that they've actually gone up a lot over this year, but if I cherry pick part of this graph to suit my agenda and zoom in on this section down
Looks
here,
like they're going
look,
down,
they've
yeah.
absolutely crashed.
This is extreme. This is an extreme on Spud Gun. This is not. This is a little bit too far. This is like a little bit too far. In terms of like trying to show Paradox being so manipulative. This is not that manipulative. This is like this level of manipulative what Paradox is doing with this chart. It's like this. It's not. This is a little too much. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like it's a little bit too much. It gets the point across, but it's a little bit too much. But yeah.
It's over. Get out while you still can, Tencent. I don't have access to the data that Paradox used to provide this graph. When I asked on this forum thread what they mean by our data, because they didn't provide any source in the post, he said it's collected directly from Steam. So I don't have any reason to distrust the numbers they're actually giving us for the daily active player count. It's just that I can't go and get these numbers myself to show the rest of the context or make comparisons. If there is some way, then I don't know what it is. Steam and Paradox are business partners, they can share data. I'm just a random YouTuber asking questions. One source to go on to get their daily active player count on launch would be their sales figure of 500,000. If we assume all 500k people were playing it, and all you can do is make assumptions when they don't provide the actual data, then it dropped from 500,000 to 44,000 in the first few months, or as a percentage...
Ooh. See, that's actually a really good point. He'll probably be talking about it, so I'm going to talk more. But that's actually a really good point, that if you that means that of the 500,000 sales, now only 50,000 of them are playing. That's 90% drop off, right? But that's normal for a lot of games, though. I think that's pretty normal for a lot of games. I don't know if that's something you can blame Paradox for. That's pretty normal.
About 90% of the players.
Yeah.
Oh, I can see why Paradox didn't include this now. This makes that increase to 58,000 that Paradox put in larger gold writing much more insignificant. Now let's move on to my comparisons using the Steam chart's concurrent players data. What I'm going to do first is compare the launch of the games and the subsequent months after that to show the player drop off in real numbers and percentages. As you can see, in the first month it went down by 57%, then 50%, 30%, 25%. So first of all, let's look at Crusader Kings 3, a very good comparison.
Yo, he mentioned my game! Okay, sorry, let's go.
This was the most recent Paradox release before Vic 3, and as you can see, the average concurrent player count is very comparable on launch, although CK3 has a bigger peak count. The drop off in the first month after release is actually quite similar, but then it gets much worse for Victoria 3. It loses half of its players going into December, whereas CK3 only loses 36% in the equivalent time.
Yeah, so this is probably a good way to show that Victoria 3 might be a little bit worse off than CK3. To show it's worse off than most games, I mean. Because CK3 definitely, like every game, has that drop-off initially, right? All games have that. But it looks like Victoria 3 really dropped off hard. Okay.
And then in the fourth month after release, CK3 is sitting on 12,000 players, whereas Vic 3 is sitting on 5,000, after coming from the same average players on launch. If we put these two games together side by side in real time, this is about 2 years after CK3's launch. Victoria 3's player count dropped below CK3's player count on the 28th of November, 1 month after Victoria 3's launch. This is very funny. They would make their 500k sales announcement the next day. CK3 wasn't even that DLC'd up yet, it had one expansion by this point, and it's widely considered to be quite flavourless and lacking a lot of content. I'm going to pay attention to this battle in the future. Let's see if Victoria 3 ever surpasses...
Bro, we all know CK3 is winning. There were just for CK3 in this at this time, but they hadn't. By the time when Victoria 3 came out, CK3 was in a content drought. So I know this very well because I've talked about this a lot on my channel. Okay. CK3 is in a complete content drought. There is nothing for CK3 right now. The flavorless CK3 is quite flavorless. Yes, it is very flavorless, with the exception of Scandinavians and Iberia, because those are the two flavor packs. But CK3 has not had a piece of content drop for so long. Oh my god. See the perfect game? It is the perfect game, yes. But it needs content. Needs content really badly. Needs new DLCs. It's coming, boys. It's April 10th. April 10th, right? That's what I said. That's what I said this DLC was going to come out. And then I got completely roasted like an hour later when they said they were going to throw it, like a few months down the road. Omega lol. But yeah. Point is that CK3 was definitely in a low point of playerhood. I don't know. It's in a low point of player counts at this time when Victoria 3 came out, which is why I played Victoria 3, because I had nothing to do with CK3, bro. All achievements are already done. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, okay, let's go.
CK3 again. And I don't think it will, because just when Victoria 3 is getting patch 1.2, CK3 has a new DLC coming out.
That's cope, dude. No. Coming out. You must get that actually contribute to gameplay. Blobber, you can't say it like that. It's too true, okay? The next DLC has real mechanics, okay? The next DLC is gonna have a lot of interesting things in it that are gonna change the game, okay? Okay, and all you guys are getting on your EU4 BS is mission trees, okay? Take that. Okay, you get mission trees. That's all you're gonna get. Domination is gonna be mission trees upon mission trees and nothing else. Okay, that's all you're getting. He said the release date, push it back 2 months. True.
Now let's do the real comparison. Imperator Rome. I had to use a different website because Steam Charts didn't give an accurate reading for the first month here. Well, it turned...
Dude, EU4 has Anbenar. That's cope. That's so cope. Anbenar. Real mechanics CK3? Never. It'll never happen. Ugh, sorry, I need to stop with the copium. We have to go to Imperator, okay? We'll go back. We have to go to Imperator because I need to stop taking so much copium, okay? We gotta watch the video. I'm gonna OD at this point, okay? So that's enough. That's enough.
There's a new DLC coming out. Now let's do the real comparison. Imperator Rome. I had to use a different website because Steam Charts didn't give an accurate reading for the first month here. Well, it turns out that Victoria 3 actually beats Imperator Rome.
Nice.
What, you thought I would only show games that perform better than Victoria 3? Their player counts never met in real time either. This shows that Victoria 3's situation is nowhere near as bad as Imperator Rome. A lot of people question whether Paradox would abandon Victoria 3 in the same way as they did Imperator. I personally never thought they would abandon Victoria 3 anyway, but the data shows that it's unlikely to happen as well. Victoria 3's first expansion is actually the most important thing to look out for. If that flops, then Victoria 3 is under serious risk of being abandoned, but there's no reason.
You know what's funny is, okay, like, I don't know, I'm such a coper about DLC. I think that the first Victoria 3 DLC probably is going to be okay. I'm hoping they're going to learn from the critique that's come out about the game. Because they're taking the game in a good direction right now, right? So, like, Victoria 3 to me is kind of like, it's like on the up. It's like a slightly, like, you know, take like a zero slope. We're at like a 0.6, you know? We're trending up, you know, we're going somewhere. I don't know if you guys can see that when I was doing that. But, you know, Victoria 3 is trending upwards in my opinion, right? Because they're making some okay decisions. The autonomous investment was a bad decision, but like the new UI was good, the performance increase was good. Like, okay, new updates have been good, but we'll see what the next DLC is, because I think that if they can do a good job, then it'll be all right. But maybe I'm coping. I might be copium like really hard right now. I wouldn't say that I'm being reasonable. I might be coping really hard. Love autonomous investment? I guess, do people love it? I guess they do. This video came out like a couple hours ago. This video literally just came out. I guess people do like autonomous investment. I don't like it because it's so it has no like logic to it. But whatever. Every country Victoria plays the same. Yeah, that's okay if they can just make the gameplay of each country fun. Right now the game doesn't have a whole lot of interesting stuff in it besides even like flavor. But whatever. I'm just see Kobe on roast in live stream. Yeah, I'm doing self-harm. Someone stop me. But let's see.
Reason to suppose that it will or won't at this point until we know about it. Now on to the next game. Do you think you can guess what this one is? I'll give you a few seconds if you want.
Okay, what do we think this is? What is this? 12,000 players initially. Hold on, I'll hide the spells. What game is this? Remy, you're coping really hard. Solaris? Farming Simulator? Okay, well, you've watched the video, but okay, you spoiled it, Vampire. I know that you've watched it. I already know you watched the video. God damn it! It's gonna be Farming Simulator because the guy already fucking watched it. Okay.
Time, just pause the video. It's Hoi 4. Not only does it do better
get fucked. Oh my god.
On its 4th month after release, it actually beats Victoria 3 in terms of real
player
count, after starting from a considerably lower base. This could also point towards Paradox's new casual audience that they're going for not being quite as loyal. But as you probably know, Hearts of Iron 4 went on to have a very bright future, as you can see here. Over 6 years of war gameplay, it built itself up to be on the same level as Vic 3 when it came out. Now let's zoom in on when the two games actually meet, using a better source that shows them properly. An expansion came out for Hoi 4 at the end of September here. The peak that Hoi 4 achieved with that DLC is higher than what Victoria 3 had on its launch. And then around the 8th of November, exactly 2 weeks after Vic 3 came out, it officially dropped below Hoi 4's player count, and then the gap just widened after that. Remember all the haters that said if you want a war game, go and play Hoi 4? Well, this was the day that the community listened to them, and that happened. Well, I didn't do that. One of the reasons that Hoi 4 has been so successful is because of the content creators that have been making excellent content out of it for all these years. Those same content creators did some stuff about Vic 3 when it came out, and then one by one they dropped off and went back to Hoi 4.
Yeah, dude, I feel that as a CK3 guy that dipped into Victoria 3, I made a bunch of guides for Vic 3. They did really well, and then I got bored of the game. You hate to see it. Like I just I feel it. I feel it because I made another Victoria 3 guide recently, the Ottoman Empire guide, right? And that was easy to make because I just cut up my VOD. Like it's you understand that a video where you just cut up a VOD is really, really, really easy. Okay? Like it's nice and easy to make like a cut up a VOD, right? So that's why I made that Ottoman Empire video. It's easy. It was a grab to see. I was checking if there's still some viewership for Victoria 3 basically, right? I wanted to see, okay, how is this looking? Dog, that video is doing like solidly average, right? Whereas some of my best videos before were Victoria 3 because it was a new game and I was hyped for it, right? Like I cannot make Victoria 3 content except for video essays. Victoria 3 video essay content is coming hard. Okay, cash grab, yes, I did a cash grab video basically, but but like, you know, like Victoria 3 is gonna be really fun to make videos about simply because of like the video essays. I love to analyze Victoria 3, but like, you know, it's it's not that fun to play anymore. It's fun to analyze but not to play. Reminds me when Cyberpunk came out, everyone who complained on Reddit was basically told to play something else, then they did, pretty much, yeah. Or you wait for mods, right? Yeah, exactly. CK3 stories are where it's at. CK3 stories and are doing really well. And then even just like my live stream VODs kind of get quite a bit of viewership. I was like, oh, nice. That's pretty good. That's, you know, that's not bad. Just some VODs, right? VODs do pretty well too. Just CK3 VODs. People, I've realized that CK3 community, some people just want to watch you do something impressive, right? I did move the HelloFresh boxes. They're over here now. So they used to be over there, now they're over here. I moved them. It was because Blobber told me to. I listened to Blobber. Bit of my viewer run. I'm actually gonna do that more, Tarek. So you know the Slavia run I just did? I'm gonna do that with that one as well. So I think Blodge requested that one. Blodge is gonna do that. Becoming market analyst or being bored of working as part of market? Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much. Like I'm literally gonna become just like someone who makes the videos. The thing is, I tend to actually be quite charitable to Victoria 3. If I really wanted to, if rookie mistake, true. No, Blobber is not chat. He's a compatriot. He's a fellow streamer. He's different. I think if I wanted to be really hard on Victoria 3, I probably could be. But I try to be like nice to Victoria 3 because I want Victoria 3 to be good. So I try to be nice to it. But the video essays, I just go in. I just go in on video essays. I don't try to be nice. I usually just say like, this was crap, this was bad, I wanted this to improve. That's why I get a lot of negative feedback on those videos. But that's what you got to do.
Whether they were sponsored to do Vic 3 or not, the game couldn't retain them on its own actual merits, with Isora Productions, who is the biggest Paradox content creator, calling it stinky and going first. But for all those Hoi 4 people, you could say, oh well, they play a war game, Victoria 3 is not for them. Maybe that's
fellow
true,
Vic 3
Victoria 3
casual
will build its own content creators that are based around it. I've seen maybe 1 or 2 channels becoming that. I just can't help but think that it's pretty obvious that Victoria 3...
You know what lives rent-free in my head? Is when Blobber called me a mere hobbyist. That still, to this day, haunts me. I try to sleep at night, and then I hear Blobber in my head saying, "You're just a mere hobbyist, mate." And I want to go punch a kangaroo immediately. I can't do it. He called me a hobbyist. Can you believe that? Never gonna forgive. Never gonna forgive. I'll never get over it. It's gonna be in my head for the rest of my life. Completely true. True. I'm gonna go back a little bit as well. Hold on. Heavy breather. Yeah, literally. Hobbyist.
Victoria 3 is not for them. Maybe that's
true. Run CK3. There's like 4 runs, but I pick at random though. So if you put a run in, it's not necessarily in order of who submitted. It's in order of what I feel like doing. So yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Who's Blobber? Blobber is a fellow Victoria 3 speedrunner and EU4 speedrunner, and he's a speedrunner as well. And we used to compete for Victoria 3 records, but he fucking blew me out of the water. Blobber destroyed me in Victoria 3 speedruns because I did not have the patience to do like 8-hour-long runs how he did. So he wrecked me in all the speedruns, and then to put the salt on the wound, he called me a mere hobbyist, and I'll never forgive him. But yeah, he's a cool. You should check him out. He's a cool streamer. I mean, plug him a little bit just because he's a cool guy. That's Blobber. Yeah. Get early access. Damn, you cheating son of a bitch! You cheater! I'm joking. I'm making content. It's fun. Blobber is a cool guy. His insult was taken in jest, or was it?
Victoria 3 will build its own content creators that are based around it. I've seen maybe 1 or 2 channels becoming that. I just can't help but think that it's pretty obvious that Victoria 3 is severely lacking, boring, doesn't lend itself well to very interesting...
This meme is too real. Bro, listen, okay. I know I keep pausing. I'm sorry. When I do a guide for Victoria 3, and I have to explain what I'm doing in the guide, there are so many times when this is exactly what I have to do, and I'm like, how do I make this interesting? I have to sit there and be like, yeah, so then I sat and built things for the GDP for like 30 years. I did nothing for like 4 hours of real life time. I sat, I checked the market, what's expensive? I build that thing till it's not expensive. I check the market, what's expensive? Just repeat over and over again. That's why what'll happen is, with my guides, it'll be like, okay, first 20 years of the game, that's like 10 minutes of the video. The rest of the 80 years, is the last 5 minutes of the video, because nothing else happened. Dude, it's too real. It's too real.
This game just doesn't provide stories, and people love a good story. They added characters, they added leaders, they added 3D models, and that has done nothing to actually provide any stories based around them. I'm not saying that people haven't made good content out of it, but just compare it to Crusader Kings 3, which has developed a massive amount of great content creators, consistently putting new stuff out for that, including CK2 creators that moved to it. Look how Victoria 3 appealed to the main Victoria 2 content creators, am I right? Anyway, just like the actual performance of the game itself, this could easily change in the future if things improve. And I'll be paying close attention to that whenever they finally get round to releasing their first expansion that the Grand Edition people are waiting for. There will definitely be sponsorships for that, but we'll see if the big Paradox content creators actually stick around and make good content out of it based on the game's own merits, replayability, but actually do it consistently instead of just being paid to do it and then leaving. Also, we have to realise that Paradox dumped so much money into the marketing of Vic 3 and all those sponsorships. Can they do that again for the next expansion? How many people can they actually get? If they put in as much money again as they did in the launch, does it become a sunk cost fallacy? The performance of Vic 3...
I mean, obviously for me, because Paradox doesn't pay me for anything, so that you guys know of. Who knows what I get behind the scenes. This doesn't matter for me. I make videos about the games that I like. This is why Victoria 3 content on my channel fell off so hard. I made all the guides I wanted to make, and then I was like, I'm done with the game. And I don't know if the game gets good again, I'll come back to it, sure. But every time I go in to try and make like another Victoria 3 video, I'm like, man, I'd rather make a CK3 video. Make a Victoria 3 video soon. Well, I'm doing a video essay. I'm just not gonna think video essays are different from actual like gameplay, right? I have lots of video essays planned for Victoria 3. In fact, one of them is like about half done script wise. But like, you know, it's like we'll see like if I come back to it or not. So when I not have NDA or broke it, I don't think they had NDAs. I'm pretty sure they were allowed to release everything. But just claiming stuff. Hold on, did they break NDAs? When? What do you mean?
Stick around and make good content out of it based on the game's own merits, replayability, but actually do it consistently instead of just being paid to do it and then leaving. Also, we have to realise that Paradox dumped so much money into the marketing of Vic 3 and all those sponsorships. Can they...
Oh, you mean... well, that's not called an NDA. An NDA is when you can't release content or something. But yes, no, a lot of content creators were paid. So Bokuin was paid, I know that. Who else was paid? I don't know exactly what was paid. I know, but I watched Bokuin's videos. Oh, that was the joke? No, I think that Remy's trying to like be a pro Victoria 3 coper. I think he's trying to do, but I know that Bokuin got paid. I don't know who else got paid, but lots of people were paid to advertise this game. That was known because they said it in the videos. Yeah, different things. Well, NDA is non-disclosure agreement. What you're talking about is a sponsorship contract. An NDA is a particular kind of agreement where you are, like, for example, Blobber would have had one for his early act. Well, I think he would have. I'm pretty sure Blobber would have had a NDA with Victoria 3 when he got the early access. I don't know if he did or not, but maybe he would have. Where, like, you can't release content about the game before it's out. I don't know if Blobber got that or not. I actually have no idea. Sponsorships were big. I don't know how big they were. Moving the goalpost, by the way. But I don't know how big the sponsorships were. No comment. Based. Understandable. The point is that that's when you get NDAs. It's like pre-release stuff. So, for example, if you were a closed beta tester for Vic 3 and you released leaked footage, which they did, that'd be breaking your NDA. That's different than having a sponsorship contract. Just for entering the building. Yeah, that's so that you don't leak things about their building, right? Whatever. This is a whole other discussion. This is a different thing. The point is that it is factual. It is not Spud making it up. That content creators were paid. That's just like factual. That's
around to releasing the first expansion. That's what the Grand Edition people are waiting for. There will definitely be sponsorships for that, but we'll see if the big Paradox content creators actually stick around and make good content out of it based on the game's own merits, replayability, but actually do it consistently instead of just being paid to do it and then leaving. Also, we have to realise that Paradox dumped so much money into the marketing of Vic3 and all those sponsorships. Can they do that again for the next expansion?
Big is in fact. Well, sure, big is relative, but sponsorships did happen.
People can they actually get? If they put in as much money again as they did in the launch, does it become a sunk cost fallacy?
True,
the
Alien,
performance
true.
of Vic3 on launch puts way more pressure on this expansion. It simply has to be good. And it's going to be $30. And I just hope that the experience of Victoria 3's launch will mean that the consumers don't fall for the marketing and pre-order it, and they actually base their decision on real reviews and the merits of the expansion. When people say that I'm just a blind hater, they don't understand that the behaviour I'm encouraging would force Paradox to make better products. Anyway, another reason for Hoi 4's success is of course multiplayer. It may only be a fraction of the player count, but it punches well above its weight in its importance. Replayability, innovation in how you actually play the game, modding, content, competitive tournaments, multiplayer is so important. And I think I've heard that the Hoi 4 devs actually cater towards multiplayer, but Hoi 4 players will have to tell me more about that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Multiplayer in Victoria 3 is atrocious because of non-existent war and just all the other problems of the game being boring, and then the multiplayer system itself is just an absolute joke, no in-game chat, unstable. They are working on fixing that instability. Unlike Victoria 2, when Victoria 3 goes out of sync, it actually points to which file caused the out of sync. So Paradox are looking at those desynchronization causes and fixing them one by one. So all credit to them for doing that. They would have found these earlier if they tested multiplayer before releasing it, but at least we're getting there eventually. Anyway, tangent over, let's go back to some comparisons.
I'll post it in chat after you.
EU4 and Stellaris both have a very similar player count, and Victoria 3 fell below them both at around the same time. Now let's compare them on launch. First of all, EU4 performs remarkably better than Victoria 3 did on launch, and this is 10 years ago in 2013, when Paradox was a considerably smaller company with a smaller audience. Obviously there are a lot of factors as to why this comparison is unfair. I investigated why EU4 had such a
I was gonna say, like, EU4 is like a whole different era. I don't know if these are comparable. I don't know if you can compare these, but let's see what he says.
Increase in player count that quickly, and it was because apparently it went on 50% sale in November. I feel cheated because I bought it for full price, but I haven't bought a single DLC for it since, so I guess that evens out. Now we're actually coming to what could be the most interesting comparison, and I had no idea about this until I started making this video and researching it, and that's Stellaris. The numbers you see here are actually very close and comparable, because their peak player count on launch and then the first month drop off is more or less the same. Victoria 3's percentage drop off of average players is of course worse, but the reason the Stellaris comparison is interesting is because of Stellaris' comeback. Victoria 3 didn't perform the same on launch as Imperator Rome, it performed the same on launch as Stellaris, very roughly speaking. And it's perfectly possible that Victoria 3 is at the beginning of the same graph as Stellaris here. And coming from a supposed blind hater of Victoria 3, these facts are very good for Victoria 3. I went with the facts.
This is what I mean. So this actually is playing into what I was talking about before, where like Victoria 3 is definitely like, it can have this 0.6 slope. It can be good. You know? It can be a good game. You just like, you know, we'll see. We'll see where it goes, right? Because Stellaris definitely recovered very well from its bad release, and Victoria 3 can do the same thing. It's very right.
I didn't mislead anyone. Paradox should have just put this graph on their forum instead to show how Victoria 3 could rise again. I've heard a lot of good things about how Stellaris fixed a lot of its problems after launch, had a lot of good free updates and so on. I don't know that too well myself, I've only played it a little bit. This does of course lead me to exactly the same point I made earlier, which is that Victoria 3's future comes down to its first expansion. That's make or break for it. No pressure. Vic3 and Stellaris have a lot of things in common. One of them is that they were both a completely new direction for a Paradox game. And the thing that explains most of the reason I'm pissed off at Victoria 3 and not Stellaris is because Victoria 3 claims to be a sequel to Victoria 2, whereas Stellaris is just a new franchise. Vic3 of course did a few things which were just objectively terrible, like the war system, and I can't think of anything that Stellaris did that was that.
Oh dude, I'm gonna put the controversial statement out here, but you guys who watch me, you know, I'm actually pretty chill with Victoria 3's war system. Well, I mean the battles, right? The fronts. I like the fronts, they just gotta make the fronts make sense. I'm okay with having battles I don't control and having like fronts where I don't get to decide where the battles happen. I'm okay with all that. But right now, the way the fronts are, you know, sometimes you're playing Sick Empire and all the princely states make 1,000,000 fronts on you. That's some BS. They gotta fix that. But I'm okay with eschewing war to basically being automatic. The Street Objective Edition was a big improvement? Exactly, yeah. I don't like micro. Exactly. In a game like Victoria 3, I'm okay getting rid of micro. Okay? Like, I'm okay. I was having aneurysm. I know I was, yes. I'm actually okay not microing armies in Victoria 3. That's completely fine with me, okay? You don't have to micro armies. This is the one thing I'll get crucified for, probably by Spud's community or something, if they were to see this, right? I'm actually okay with no micro in the armies. I'm actually okay with it. Watch Victoria 3. Maybe I should watch that. Yeah, honestly, maybe I might watch more Spud, but we're only going to watch one video today, so I'm not going to watch a bunch of Spud today. We're going to, like, you know, We're gonna do that stuff. Yeah, it's not the issue with the game. The issue is not the war stuff. The fronts are broken, so the fronts need to be fixed, similar to how they are in Hawaii 4, where like if you have like country A, B, and C, it shouldn't be two fronts. It's one front across two countries. They got to do that. Okay, you got to fix that. First of all, get Hawaii 4's front thing in here, where it's two countries that make one front. Don't have like country A, B, C, D, E, F, and then each one makes its own front. That stuff is cancerous. Okay, get that out of there. Okay, if you do that, I'm actually okay with the system. I have a problem with the fronts, not with the battles. Also, make the battles more transparent. That's basically it. And yeah, out of syncer, strategic objectives actually are really good. You should use them because they genuinely do work really well. It just gets too boring after a while. I guess people love the Thomas investment. I guess so. Like our micro, but I hate that it was replaced by just annoying econ micro. Yeah, that I can see what you mean. They gotta fix the economy. This is always my point in my video essays about Victoria 3. It's like, bro, don't fix the military, dude. Like that should get fixed eventually, sure. But can you please make the economy good? Like, you know what I mean? Like you gotta make the other parts of the game good, because those are the more important parts. The diplomacy, first of all, diplomacy for a Victorian era World War I Great War kind of game, your diplomacy's got to be good. They have like no diplomatic systems in the game basically at all. Okay, that's a problem. And the economics need to be fixed. The economics are boring. That needs to be fixed. Military can come later. Okay, fix that stuff before you fix military. That's my opinion.
Launch. Victoria 2 and its generation of Paradox games are unfortunately and wrongly very easy to pirate, and there might actually be people still playing it out there on a physical copy. That's the reason this is an inaccurate comparison, let alone the reasons this is an unfair comparison. It's an old janky game, alright? And we cannot compare the launch because Steam Charts began its data in 2012. We do have this though, and I'll never stop posting it. And if we compare it to a fellow nominee of the 2022 Strategy Game Award, it actually looks like Warhammer 3 really dropped off hard as well. It fell below 10k players as well from a higher point than Victoria 3, but they turned it around with some DLC or something. Could that mean that Victoria 3 has some hope, or was Warhammer a better base to build DLC out of? I don't know enough about Warhammer 3 to compare
anything about the game,
games,
no idea.
So I'll leave that to others. So what game do you think we should do next? Now, this comparison might seem funny, but again it's really unfair, because Farming Simulator is a genuinely loved and successful franchise that's clearly very good at what it does. People prefer the seemingly repetitive tasks of farming over the repetitive tasks in Victoria 3.
So now he's just dunking on the game, which is fine. You get your dunks in, right? That's fine.
And upgrading filing cabinets. Maybe this comparison actually shows the difference between monotonous but satisfying work and unsatisfying busy work, and definitely a game with soul versus a game with no soul. Well, I think the Farming Simulator comparison about does it. Let's call it here. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you found this video interesting.
You're welcome.
If you want more, then give the video a like and subscribe if you haven't. Remember never to pre-order a Paradox game ever again, or a DLC, and definitely not Victoria 3's upcoming DLC. And remember, if you play multiplayer and the host has a DLC, you can play it without buying it yourself. So try and arrange to test out the DLC before making your own decision. This video ended up being a lot more time consuming than I thought, especially when Paradox dropped their fake news graph, and I had to respond to it. I got a ridiculous amount of hate on the forum thread just for questioning it. These people are completely deranged. I dropped this image
as someone who I don't have the courage to post on Paradox forums for CK3, okay? But listen, when I read the shit on the CK3 Paradox forums, oh my god, bro. Some of the cope in there is oh my god, some of the cope. This message is really funny. I spoke about don't ever question Paradox, 9 quintillion billion fucking upvotes, and then unfinished game lover 69. I'm like a lol. But dude, like the CK3 Paradox forums are full of the same thing, dude. The same thing.
And someone later told me I got banned for this. Anyway, if you want to support the channel so I can keep telling the truth, then you can join my Patreon, and you get some nice extra perks for doing so. Also,
I'll drop the link to the video in the chat, so if you want to watch this, give everyone, like, this is kind of bad for his analytics, maybe don't do this, but like, go and watch the video. What you do is go click the video, okay? And then like have it on in the background so he gets the hours watched. Don't just click it and then leave, because then it'll fuck with his analytics. Go in and like mute it and let it play through, and that way he can get some good analytics on it, because this video deserves a lot of attention. It just came out like very recently, but it's a good video, and I'll probably leave a comment on it. I should subscribe. The reason I'm not subscribed is because I'm on my my business account where I upload videos. I don't subscribe to anyone on this account, so like this is why. But yeah, it's a good video. Very good video. That is basically the video I wanted to react to. This is when I'm finished, I guess.
Come and watch my streams live on Twitch. I might do some Victoria 3 again to check out the patch a bit more, or I might not. In any case, have a very nice day. Goodbye.
No, with YouTube, no, you don't have to meet the tab. You can just meet the video and it'll count. Because YouTube just checks the watch time. So just have it on and just run it in the background or something. Because I feel bad whenever I steal someone's content, right? Because the thing is, Spud Gun's about my size. There's a content. He's a little bigger than me. I'm not gonna cope too hard. He's not like a massive creator that I'm like leeching off of. This is someone who probably should get some attention for his video, right? So you definitely should go and watch that. You know, it's not like a massive anything, but no, it's a very good video. I'm gonna look at my Discord here. I got some pings. What do we got here?